And it's Dan and James talking about the Villa games. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the AVFC Faithful Podcast. Joined, as always, by Dan and James. The gruesome twosome are back, I'm afraid. James has had a lovely holiday away. How was it, James?
Yeah, it was nice. It was only to Wales, but nice few days away for our eldest's birthday. And then made it back just in time for the Chelsea game. So, yeah, perfect.
Not bad. It's almost written in the stars, really. I know that you make it back into for a good performance and a win. And well, we may as well kick straight into it. Obviously, I can't really remember our predictions, to be honest. It was so long ago, but I've got a feeling might have gone for a win.
I honestly can't remember. I think I remember saying, because the last one I did was just before we played Legia Warsaw. I remember saying I think it'd be a professional 1 or 2-0 job, which it wasn't. So I can't remember what I said about Chelsea, but yeah, we seem to have their number away from home at the moment. It was just a professional Emery job, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know we'll get on to how bad, but how lackluster Chelsea are. But I mean, we really set up to play against a team that isn't firing on all cylinders, really. And like you said, it is I guess you could probably say the first 10, 15 minutes were a bit slow, if anything. It was still wasn't a bad performance. It just we weren't sort of matching Chelsea's output going forward, but it seemed like we just sort of found our footing. And as soon as we stopped after the first 50 minutes, Chelsea had, I'd say, 2 clear-cut chances the entire game after the first 5 minutes. I think the Sterling chance, and Chilwell's chance. That's it, really. That was the thing I really wanted to focus on was quite how not comfortable. I'm never going to say it's comfortable, because watching the balls go through and then get onto them every single time, no matter how many times they're offside, it is painful. I think you mentioned before, didn't you? It's worrying how it seems one ball can undo you. But I mean, the recovery pace seemed quite well by especially by Cash. I thought Cash had a really good game. I mean, as did I think Luca Dean was all right, and I think Pau and Konza. I mean, Konza's just Konza, isn't he? At this point, he's just a fucking brilliant footballer, I think.
Yeah.
And that's what you need, and it really against Chelsea, because it's not like they don't threaten you. I mean, I know they're not scoring a lot, but they make the chances. They seem to just not be able to put them away at the moment. And Sterling's always going to be an issue in any Premier League fixture. So I think the defense really was what shone for me. But I know there's probably 2 men that are on your lips at the moment that you might want to chat about for a bit.
Who might that be?
I think it might be a certain double midfield pivot duo that you might talk about.
Yeah, I'll move on to them soon. But yeah, okay, you're saying that it does sort of make you feel a bit concerned at any time that one ball over the top might catch us. But when we're on our game like we were yesterday, the offside trap was played like pretty much perfectly. It is, you see us sitting on the halfway line, and there's just a whole half for a team to run into. It's crazy, but yeah, the recovery pace was really good. And when you have Emi Martinez in goal, who has inspired games like that and just takes 1v1 battles just for fun, he just loves that sort of challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when I think about it, if it wasn't for us playing so high, I actually don't think Chelsea would have created much, because I honestly don't know. Like, I can't think of any patterns of play that they have. It was just that they have Sterling, they have Jackson, they have Mudryk, and they can make those runs in behind. And I don't think if we'd have stepped off them a bit more, I don't think they'd have known really what to do. But you could say that the red card, handed us more of the initiative. But I think we had the better chances in the game up till then anyway. And then obviously the goal from the main man himself, who was always going to be scoring soon. And I'm glad that he did. I'm glad he's on the score sheet and he's got that goal right behind him now, hopefully, and kicks himself into a run. But yeah, Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara were just sensational between them. That winning the ball back, playing forwards, just incredible. I think Douglas Luiz is it's like he plays golf on the pitch. He knows his sort of route to the pin, and he just picks a club, and he knows what pass to play. And honestly, I think he could play for any team in the league. He might not be starting for a City, but he could 100% be a part of that squad. He could be in the Arsenal team. He could be in the Liverpool team. We are lucky to have him still. When
Absolutely.
you think that we only signed him for like around 15 million, how many years ago now? 4 years ago, I think it was.
Yeah, because he had obviously
We're
the
at 19.
release clause, sort of buyback clause, didn't he, with City?
Yeah, so he's come on leaps and bounds each season when he's been given the chance, and then when you complement him with someone like Boubacar Kamara who can pick up the pieces behind and also hustle and bustle his way forwards, just yeah, that those midfield two for combined just over 15 million, and they ran the show really in midfield is just sensational.
Oh, I think I've dropped a little bit there, or either that or I shrunk a little bit. Um,
Your camera just you couldn't handle the talk about Kamara and Luiz anymore. It nearly fainted.
well, it's strange, isn't it? Because I mean, Douglas Luiz was sort of an anomaly for a while because he went through so long of being played quite clearly out of position and in a midfield that wasn't working. And I mean, there were talks. I mean, quite loud portions of the fan base actually that wanted him gone in it's quite recently as last summer. Well, sorry, not last summer. Now summer before Gerard summer, I'll call it. Um, and honestly, it's so great to see him come on the way he has because I mean, Man City picked him up as this talent that they could see coming through. We signed him as the talent that we could see coming through, and it's great to see him sort of realize his potential. I mean, he's not even at his peak yet, and he is sublime, I think. So I quite enjoy that. And again, Kamara was interesting to me because I think you might agree is he hasn't had he had such a good end to the season. He hasn't had that as good of a start. I don't think he had a couple of games where he sort of faltered a little bit. Not wasn't awful, but he wasn't at his best. And when a player is that good when they're not at that best, it makes them look worse. It's sort of the price of being so good is that the second you're not at your top level, you look terrible. Which he isn't, but I mean, I think it's great to see the fact that you can go away to Chelsea and they dominate in midfield. They spent, we can all talk about it. They spent the money they spent on the midfield they got. It goes to show you. I think I put a post about it earlier. I mean, it shows that the class sort of outshines, and especially the combination they've got between them as well. They know each other. They know each other's going to play, and that little combination. The videos out on. I mean, I had to show it you again. I think we both posted about it. I mean, Villa won't stop posting about it. The little interchange where Douglas Luiz takes it off, Mudryk plays it off to Luiz, and Luiz just breezes past Caicedo like he's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It goes to show, doesn't it, well, how important it is to have that spine and that, like, especially the way we play, having the midfield too to break apart the play and play it out. I think it's so good to see, and I mean, it was interesting because obviously Thursday came and went, and Douglas Luiz came on, and he wasn't great when he came on, but pretty much like everyone else was. No one played particularly well that game, so it's so important to see them go from a game where they haven't played their best and they're misplacing passes to be an inch perfect like they were on Sunday. And the one I wanted to know about with that really is someone who I always find it interesting when players like this don't have much of the ball, and that's DRB. He got quite little in ways of actual progressive possession. I thought, especially in the first half, I mean, two times he got the ball on the right and was forced to come all the way back because we were being strangled out. But the second he has that chance and that need to play the ball out, I mean, the way for our goal, he takes the ball, runs forward and plays the perfect pass, but then also makes the run just in case the squares come in or just to spread that defense even more. Just shows the quality he's got, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's just as soon as he had that opportunity, he could sniff that sort of danger in behind. And I think a lot of players, when they've got that sort of speed and carrying ability, they probably would run it at the defence himself. But he set Oli away as soon as he could, really. And as you say, then he gave him that 1v1 situation by making the run more towards the back post and two bites at the cherry for Watkins. It was a good block at first by Colwell, I think, but the finish itself was incredible from a tight angle. Yeah, they're just a really good partnership, and he's sort of robbed with an assist because of that block by Colwell, but he was that. It counted as a key passer, I guess, or a big chance created. It's just he's hit the ground running for us as an DRB, and I think him and Watkins complementing each other well. I like what Zaniolo offers. He's not quite there yet, but he's just one of those players that if something doesn't come off 3 or 4 times in a game, he's not afraid to keep trying.
Oh,
and he will come up with a piece of magic. And I mean, against Legia Warsaw in the week, he struck it from 35 yards or whatever and created
yeah,
that goal. He was unlucky not to score against Chelsea. If it wasn't for a wonder save by Sanchez, he was Chelsea's best player, because we could have had two or three. And I mean, Jacob Ramsey come on and nearly curled on into
yeah,
the corner if it weren't for Sanchez. So yeah, that's probably the best piece of business they've done this summer by the look of it. And even he's not been great. So, but yeah, DRB, just when we spoke about transfer targets, it was just before the summer started, I think,
yeah.
and we didn't release the video in the end. But when we were recording it, I said, an ambitious target moves to DRB, and you said, that's an exciting one. But I think we both thought probably wouldn't happen, because
High in the sky, wasn't it? Really?
yeah, it was he's got the ability to go and play for one of the top clubs, which is what I thought. And he's took to the Premier League like a duck to water, and he's just going to get better and better. He probably could have scored that 1v1 chance later on in the game, but I think he was offside
Yeah.
anyway. But he's going to be a really big player for us this season.
Definitely, it is so important that we have that as well, because now that I'm fairly certain he's going to go on the run he does, having those players around him, having DRB around Watkins, Duran coming off the bench and stuff, it's important to have those hit the ground running. Especially, I guess people are always going to say, and I guess it is kind of important, when you spend the money you do spend on these players, you want them to be instant impacts. I'm sort of the mind where I sort of give players a bit more time now. I sort of learned like the lay of land and how they've got to adapt. But it seems like he was pretty tailor made for the league, much like Duran, really. Like a sort of physicality in the way they play in themselves. So it is great to see it. And like you said with Zaniolo, another one that he's got the physicality already for the league. He doesn't have to worry about being strong. All he has to worry about is his decision making, which again you learn. You adapt to the pace, you adapt to the players around you. Again, he got in positions where a slightly better pass or a slightly better run in the box, and he gets probably an assist in the first half. I can't remember. I think Gusto, isn't it? Who was still on the pitch at this time in the first half.
Yeah,
When he skins past him, and then he's got the ball in the box, but he sort of scuffs it across, and it goes across the middle. Again,
yeah,
a better player in the box. You've got Ramsey coming in or something like that, or DRB coming in through the back post there, and it's a goal. So that's exciting to see. And obviously Jacob Ramsey coming back. That was so important. I said as soon as we went 1-0 up, I was like, that's exactly who I want to see on the pitch for the end of the game, because I trust him on the ball on the left, and I trust what he does with it, and I know that he's going to make something happen in and around that box. And so unlucky not to score.
no,
But it was strange, wasn't it? Those last 12 minutes, it sort of felt like we had the man down. I know that sort of happens sometimes when you play against 10 men and you sort of go into this sort of low block and absorb a bit of pressure. But it felt like that was when Chelsea were at their most threatening. Um, Not helped, of course, by the fact the officiating was horrendous that
correct.
game. And I was chatting to the guys I was watching it with, and they were like, "Oh well, the sending off was correct though," and I was like, "Yeah, but that wasn't even his decision."
No,
He somehow given that as a booking, and more surprisingly, even the fourth official on the lines on that line's not seen that. So, and on that as well, I've seen a couple of counts go against it. I mean, to me, I said it up. It was a clear red, but
it's Stonewall red. I honestly, the amount of people I've said it was the wrong decision. I actually don't know what they're watching, and
no,
they're like, "Oh, they're using a still frame," and it's like, watch it in fucking normal speed. It looks worse.
yeah,
He looks out of control. It's not about the winning the ball. He's not in control of his body and the force of it. The follow through
well, it
could
goes
have.
over the top of the ball anyway.
Yeah, he could. He honestly could have broke Dean's ankle.
Yeah,
So it was the right call. But yeah, that last 10, 15 minutes or so, I feel like, because we felt like we'd got Chelsea's number and that they seemed pretty toothless. We were quite happy to soak up the pressure and try and hit them on the break again, a bit like last season. And on Jacob Ramsey as well, I think the biggest thing for me was, I think within a couple of minutes of him being on, he had to sprint recovery
yeah,
pace to make that tackle. Took a little knock, but that work rate and defensive solidity, it was something we've been missing from the front. So yeah, that was probably my favourite thing to see from him that game. You can sort of see that he looked quite fit. So
Yeah.
yeah, honestly, I've got the options that we've got now with players coming back, and Moreno. I think it sounds like he's a week or two away still, but yeah, with Ramsey in front of him, Dean might be okay for you know the time being, and when Moreno's back, it'll be a good competition. And you just think, what's their strongest 11? Because for me, Jacob Ramsey goes straight back in when he's fully fit.
Yeah.
I don't think he's too much of an asset not to have in. But then you think Zaniolo is building towards some sort of form, and I think when he gets his first goal or assist, I think the numbers will grow and grow. But then it's you're probably looking at who drops out, which would most likely be McGinn in that sense. But then I know he's not had the best couple of games, McGinn, but he's so important to us.
And he's your captain. It's hard to drop your captain, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, exactly. So it is really interesting to see what will happen. My guess would probably be that Ramsey and Zaniolo are sort of interchangeable, but yeah, which isn't too bad because they've both got time on their side. Both can become even better players. So, and then you've got the Duran and Watkins dynamic, and I honestly would love to see them play together at some point. To be honest,
Mm.
I think they could do if DRB needs a rest or if DRB's ever taken a knock. I would really like to see them play together. Just because I think they complement each other really well in the sense that Duran can drop in and take the ball that's fist into him because of his physicality. Watkins hold up play is good, and they both can play on the shoulder. And then you've got Duran, who's an aerial threat as well. So I think that'd be a really interesting dynamic, which I wouldn't mind seeing at some point soon.
Yeah, it's interesting as well because you've also got Bailey, who hasn't exactly played poorly enough to warrant not being in the squad. I mean, he's had definitely by his standards, a good start to the season. He's impressed me whenever he's played. So, a game like Wednesdays where you probably expect to see sort of the old front three of seeing Bailey, McGinn, Ramsey, and Watkins. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw that start, or at least that front four be back again for some point during the game on Wednesday, because I think Bailey does deserve still to get some minutes in, and it's clear to see that he's one of the first few options that comes in off the bench, and robbed really of a chance to go forward with the ball and either score or get an assist when that got brought back for the foul that wasn't given as an advantage. I see him going on there and scoring or getting an assist. So it's a good problem to have, and I mean, I guess it's one of those problems that led to last Thursday being the way it did, because you feel like you've got the rotation options and then it feels like it doesn't sometimes work. But I think Wednesday's different. I think it's a different game because I think I don't think it was purely rotational. The problem last Thursday, I think a lot of it was an away game at a ground that doesn't see many losses, the crowd that was up against it, and a team that sort of didn't feel like they had the fight in them as much. Whereas Wednesday at home in the cup against the league opposition, I think it's a bit more of a comfortable outlet for the Villains.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was looking at it like fixture lists and stuff, and Brighton have got who they got? They've got Chelsea, is it in the cup?
I'll have a look.
I think they've got something like Chelsea in the cup away. They're away to us, and then they've got Europa League next Thursday as well away. I think so. They've got a pretty tough fixture list, and then
Yeah,
also
definitely.
and then Everton have got Luton this weekend, which is a big game for them. Really, already that's a
Yeah,
game that they want to win. So, and then obviously we've got 12:30 kickoff against Brighton as well. So we're thinking about squad rotation. So there's going to be some interesting calls to be made for all those sides. So yeah, I'm not sure what to expect on Wednesday. I expect a win, but I don't know how we're going to line up, how they're going to line up,
no,
how the game will go. I think it'd be really interesting to see how our defence does against like a Calvert-Lewin and Beto, because obviously Calvert-Lewin went off early, didn't yeah, our boy Beto. It's sad to see him somewhere else.
yeah,
But yeah, obviously Calvert-Lewin went off early when we played them a few weeks ago.
yeah,
So we didn't see that aerial test for too long, but now they've got two targets in that sense. And against the High Line as well, they're both good runners. It will be really interesting. I expect a slightly rotated team. Again, it's
yeah,
literally what we all talked about all summer is you need a team to rotate, and then when he rotated it, people said he shouldn't have rotated it so much. But it's honestly, I think if you played the same team strong every week and you then start to get burnout and injuries, people will then say you should rotate. It's honestly the decision making for Emery's really tough right now. And for me, that team that was out last Thursday was good enough to get the job done if they were up to it. I don't think it was personnel. It was a mental issue. I think we still found it within ourselves to equalise twice, but we just defensively were a shambles that game, and I don't think one person really had a top game. So when it comes to Wednesday's game, especially being at home, the League Cup's one of those that it tends to be won by City or a top club. It's still one of those that you sort of want to you want to go far in that because it finishes earlier in the season. So it's I expect a pretty strong side still.
Yeah. I mean, Everton obviously won 3-1 in the end, didn't they, on Saturday? They were helped, of course, by the fact that Brentford were really poor. I thought when I watched it, Brentford didn't really have the fight that you'd expect from a Brentford team. And Everton did, in all fairness, press them well enough for the Brentford players to lose possession in and around the box. They did. Probably something to keep an eye out for is that they obviously adopted sort of like I call it like a panic press, because it felt like they were slowly letting Brentford play into their style. So they just ran at them and then sort of, I mean, obviously it was structured, it has a tactic to it, but it's sort of what it feels like. So that'll probably be something to keep an eye on, because we're at home, they're away. They're gonna, there's no real world, I don't think, where Everton dominate the ball and dominate the play. So it will be the sort of the making note of how they're going to be, because I think they'll go quite strong, mainly because I think they need to build momentum as a squad. Don't think it's worth them making so many changes and losing a game and then having that hang over them to go into the next one. So it'll be interesting. I cup games, I always want your first cup game to be at home. You always want to just start off at home, not preferably against Premier League opposition, but if you're going to pick one, it's going to be one of these ones. And I just the only problem with the game is obviously the pricing we adopted for it, but it looks like the club have sorted that out with the Conference League, which is sort of what's more important, I think. So yeah, I think if I had to go for a prediction, I would still say a 2-0 win. I think that no matter the rotation, I think we might still be defensively strong enough to hold back an Everton attack. And like I said, I think Calvert-Lewin, he did score, but he did not take his finish particularly. He took his finish like a man who hasn't scored a lot. Unlike Ollie Watkins, who took his finish spectacularly. So it will be interesting. I would go 2-0. And I would say that we'd see Bailey and Watkins as the two goal scorers personally.
I'll go 1-0, and I'll say if he plays, it'll be a Pau Torres goal. I just think it's going to be a game where we will dominate, but there's going to be a lot of energy conservation. It might feel sluggish at times, and I think a set piece might be the way that we earn the win. Which honestly, that's fine by me. Your professional job when you've got a midweek game is the best thing I think you can ask for, in the sense that you get no injuries. You don't have to press so high all the time and waste a lot of energy when you've got an early Saturday kickoff as well.
Yeah.
For me, a game like that would be perfect, and I think that we probably will see. I don't know if we'll see Duran start. I imagine that Duran will start, because Watkins, fresh after a week against Brighton, is going to be really key. I also probably wouldn't start Ramsey either.
No.
I would be looking at starting Zaniolo, bringing Ramsey on for minutes again, and then starting Ramsey against Brighton. So, yeah, it will be really interesting to see what the team sheet is on Wednesday. But I do think that we'll just get the job done. Another clean sheet at home would be really nice.
Well, Bailey seems to hate Everton because he seems to always do either particularly well or score against them. So that was sort of my mindset. And I had this image of basically Watkins being brought on towards the end when Everton are just hanging on and the game's fizzing out, and sort of just getting them on the break, sort of giving him that extra goal to keep sort of ticking it along. But again, I don't think he needs it. I think he needs the Premier League goal. It's just a strange mindset, isn't it? You score in the Premier League and you feel like you can keep scoring in the Premier League, I guess. because it's not like he's not scoring this season. It's just there he didn't score. So yeah, I like these games. Again, I wish I could go, but oh well, it is what it is. I do, yeah. I think it'll be good for us to sort of consolidate this one because I think Saturday's such an important game, and that's such a tactical minefield against Brighton, where I think it will be good to conserve a lot of the players in, and two home games back to back is ideal because I think going away to Everton and then playing at home on the Saturday early kickoff would lead me to think differently against Brighton at home. But yeah, I think it's exciting. I think it's important for the club to make this cup run, and it's important for me because I've still got us down to win the double, and this is the cup that I think we won. So
Yeah,
they've got to do it really just for us, I think.
yeah, but they really need to save our bacon because we both predicted a double this season without thinking about it being a double. So please, Villa, do us a favour.
They owe it to us, really, don't they? Well, to anyone going, enjoy the game, obviously. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, make sure you like it, hit the subscribe button, and tickle that bell. Just make sure you never miss another video from the pair of us. And until next time, at the Villa.
The Villa.